Hi, my name's Eric Lanz, and I am an SDK engineer for Embrace. I've been building iOS applications for about 10 years, and I'm here today to talk about the kinds of tools that you might use to help you build an application, and when is the right time to think about switching to a new tool. Yeah, so if you think about your application, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to want to know while your users are using it, maybe on the other side of the country. You're going to want to know what kind of views are they looking at, what buttons are they tapping on, are they buying things with your application or not, is your application crashing, how are your network calls performing, are your servers down or up? All of these questions are going to be in your head after you launch your app. And the only way to know this is to have some kind of SDK in your application reporting that data back so that you can look at it remotely. So you might use a tool like Apteligent to figure out when your application crashes or to get those stack traces. You might use a tool like Fabric to get your analytics data from your app and figure out how long it's taking for views to load or for button taps to happen. Honestly, not that often. Most of the time, you're going to choose your tools within the first 1 to 3 months of starting your app and never change them. The difference is, as your company grows, you might want to think about that again. If you start to go into other countries like India or China, those have completely different characteristics than the United States. In those cases, you may need an outside tool in order to even understand how those kinds of countries are working with your application. So you might have to change at that point. If your team grows from 5 engineers to 50 engineers, you might need completely different tooling in order to deal with that many people working on an application at the same time. Well, as you know, in our tech industry, companies are always buying each other, merging with each other, or even just going out of business. When those events happen, the ownership of the SDKs that you use can change. So for example, about 3 years ago, Apteligent was purchased by VMware. Nothing changed at that point, but this month, Apteligent is being rolled into the Workspace ONE product. When that happens, users of Apteligent are going to be forced to take on all the features of Workspace ONE in their application, even if all they ever wanted was crash tracking. So at these kinds of times, it's a great opportunity to reevaluate the tools that you use. So in this case, Crashlytics and Fabric are both built by the same company, Google, but Google is making a product decision that impacts Crashlytics users. So again, I probably integrated Crashlytics because I just wanted crash reporting for my app. I wanted simple, free crash reporting, nothing complicated. But now I'm going to be forced to take on 15 different frameworks in order to use Firebase Crashlytics. I have to take on Firebase Core, I need Firebase Analytics, I need all of these other frameworks in order to use Firebase Crashlytics because of a product decision that Google made. That might be right for my app. Maybe I want all of those, or maybe I'm using them anyway, but it might not be. And so it's at these times is the best time to reevaluate your usage of these SDKs. Yeah, great question. So if I'm working on an application, chances are I also have a product team who's looking at the data that these tools are giving and making decisions. For example, you probably have a purchase funnel if you're any kind of e-commerce app. What that means is you're watching everyone who puts something in their cart, everyone who then goes to the checkout screen, and then everyone who completes a purchase. And you're trying to figure out where people drop off in that flow. Now, if you're using an analytics SDK, it might be telling you that 30% of your users are dropping off when they go to the checkout flow. What if some of those users are actually crashing because of a bug in your app, but your analytics system doesn't have crash reporting, so it's just marking them as leaving the funnel? Your product team is going to spend a lot of time building features and optimizing the product flow, but no one's ever going to find or even fix that crash. So I think these are the ways that developers learn that they might need a new tool. If you're not happy, the best thing to do is to start evaluating what else is out there in the market. So you can learn about that through Google searches or Stack Overflow, but I'd also ask your coworkers or maybe attend a meetup. everyone in this industry is using SDKs in their applications, chances are they have a great idea of a tool they've used in the past that has worked great for them. But how do you test it out? It's probably not a great idea to just put that brand new SDK into your production app and see what happens. The right thing to do is to probably start a new application or a new feature in your app and then use this tool only in that new app or that new feature. That way the tool's integration naturally grows with the development of that application or feature, and you can really keep an eye on whether you like the data it's giving you, whether it's saving you time or not. This is what really matters. Yeah, so the reason you're integrating these SDKs is to save your company time and money. You don't want to be up all night chasing ghosts with stack traces with no symbols or crashes that didn't even actually happen. Yet I've seen all of these things appear in dashboards I've used over the years, and I'm sure you have too. If you start to see that happen too much, it's probably time to think about using a new tool. You're trying to save yourself time, trying to save yourself money. If that's not happening, it's time to change. Awesome question. When I'm looking at tools, I want a holistic view of my app. If you think about what's happening here, you have someone maybe on the other side of the country, maybe on the other side of the world, using your application and having an experience, but you're not there. You're probably sleeping in your bed at home. How do you figure out the next day, the next week, the next month, what that user did when they report a bug? Like, let's say they couldn't log in and they just leave you a 1-star review, I couldn't log in, with an email address. That's all you have. If all my tools giving me are crash reports and stack dumps, that's not gonna help me solve this user's problem at all. I need a holistic view. I need to see all the networking calls that were made. I need to see the views that were entered and exited, buttons that were pressed, weren't pressed. I want to see the state of that device. Maybe it was in low power mode. Maybe its CPU was pegged. Maybe memory was pegged. Maybe there's no room on the disk. Maybe it's overheating. There's all kinds of interesting reasons that our mobile applications fail our users, but our users don't know. And all they're going to do is leave that 1-star review. So when I'm looking at mobile SDKs, I am looking for a tool that provides all of that data. And it's even better if it's all aggregated together into a single screen so that I can just load that user's timeline, scroll through it and see what happened and figure out what went wrong.